imagine a lot of people
I could
probably
do
think a
Philfish
good-
impressions.
Yeah. So what the fuck is Kokoromi? It's 4 people. It's us, Damien and I, and Phil and Cindy Paremba, who is unfortunately not in Austin this week, but is the 4th member of our gang. And we formed in 2006. Am I getting that right? I'm sometimes forgetting. Yeah, in Montreal, and we formed. I'll show you a little video that is pre-Kokoromi. This is from when we didn't exist yet, but we started working together. Damien and Phil and I on a project. Phil and I were working at Ubisoft at the time. That's how we met. And we did this at this place called the SAT in Montreal. So I'll just talk over it a little bit. So this was a project called Lapis, Lapin d'Hiver. It was based on a game concept that I'd proposed earlier that year based on female orgasm. And so in this version, it's in this surround dome that projects on all sides. And so when you're tickling the bunny, you fly through space and eventually you arrive at your happy place. And so we worked with Phil on this, and Damien did all the coding, and Phil did the graphics. And we did this in 1 week, which was pretty amazing, given that it uses this crazy display system and weird software and stuff. And we enjoyed the project so much that we decided we wanted to work together on more things. And also, it took place at this venue called the SAT, Société des Arts Technologiques, in Montreal. And it was happening during an all-night party with lots of drinking, dancing, music. So like our game didn't have any audio; it was all just party ambiance, and we really liked that. And it sparked our imagination because there was a feeling of synchronicity that we got from having people playing this game in this like bar, basically, interestingly enough. So that's when we decided that we would form a collective, and basically it's a band, but we make video games and stuff instead of only making music. But we're also all music lovers and have all along kind of had projects that dealt with that. Are you done with your burger? I'm sort of just covering because I didn't, you know.
Oh, I'm just taking a break.
Yeah.
We've evidently made contact with Phil. His cab got lost, so don't blame him.
Lost on the way to the highball. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Because this is a pretty obscure Austin location that no one knows about.
All right. Excellent news. Well, we'll go slowly enough that he'll be here before the end, I'm sure.
You'll get your. He'll say something. What's the word I'm looking for?
He'll say something
He'll show up at the
fishy.
end to piss everyone off.
Yeah, it's. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
That's what you came here for.
Yeah. And the thing I guess that Kokoromi is best known for is the series of events we did called Gamma, which originally stood for Game Art Montreal, but we kind of don't. It doesn't matter where it is now, but it's a game challenge that we ask people to send in games around a particular theme, and then we choose the most interesting and diverse selections and show them at a big dance party. And we've had 4 of these. The first one was in 2006, and it tied directly to the previous work we'd done because it used it really made the synchronicity quite literal by taking the audio input from the DJs that were playing and the bands that were playing and feeding that directly into the games themselves to create, using it as a data stream to create gameplay on the fly. So all the games had to find a way to use it not just as a visual decoration, but as actual gameplay input. Well, I'll actually go through a few of these. These are just to give you the overview of what we have done. There's the first one, and then Gamma 256, Gamma 3D, and Gamma 4, one-button games. So part of what we developed out of this project was a set of guidelines for games, arcade-style games for these public spaces. To keep the gameplay short. And at the time, this was not very common, so now it's much more, I think, standard, and people do this anyway. But to keep the controls simple and standardized, to not rely on audio, and the reason we did that all along was because there were so many DJs and bands that we just wanted that to be the music for the party and not have the games themselves be requiring any audio output. And that the games had to be pick up and play while you're drunk because we're at a party. And then the other things that we decided from the start is we were always going to be really, really independent. Every creator that submitted something would get to own their own content. We weren't going to try to have any kind of reproduction rights or publication rights or anything about that. Everything they did, they owned themselves, and they were just letting us use it. And for sponsoring the event, we would never allow there to be like a large game publisher, game developer company sponsoring it, because we didn't want it to ever, give the impression that it was some kind of feeder thing for their interests. And that was often hard because a lot of game companies ended up wanting to be involved, but we had to turn them away and go it alone. So the first one was Gamma 1 audio feed, and as I mentioned before, the music from the DJs was coming into the games and creating this. Oops, actually not this. I thought I had a video.
That's a nice dissolve, though.
Yeah, lovely. Maybe, I don't know if I'm going to be able to play the video.
I mean, there's no video because it was all audio driven, so.
Yeah. Oh well, maybe I'll find it later, but I don't want to stop in the middle and go digging around in my hard drive for this video. So, oh wait, is that it right there?
Down.
Yes.
Oh. So there are a lot of different kinds of games at this one. One was kind of like based on Go, where you had like a grid and you could place different colored pieces on it and they would shine sort of lights. And I believe he set it up so that like there was like a ticker going across with the sound, and when the ticker hit a square, it changed the state of it or caused something to happen in the game.
I think it was according to the spectrum. Like each, it was using the spectrum. Like each line in the grid was part of the spectrum.
And then there was one that was just like using the audio to generate these kind of like up and down rainbow ramps, and you just like had a leprechaun that was riding a fish or something like that, and you would take him off jumps on the rainbow ramps. And
yeah, and those ramps were based on the audio.
Exactly, right. So
wave.
they were like looking at the volume of the audio, and so if there was like kick drums, you'd see these like ramps that.
It was on an anglerfish, I think.
Yeah, it was an anglerfish.
A leprechaun riding like an anglerfish.
Yeah, like those scary deep sea guys with the little lure. And then the one that we did was just kind of like a vector graphics style, and the
this one here is I Have Big Balls.
Right, that's
by
Sean McGrath's game.
Yeah, where you're riding, you play sumo wrestling, but on top of an audio wave that's pushing you off the.
Yeah, so the mat is like undulating, and the undulation is based on the audio coming in, and so you might be trying to push someone off the mat, but then get like knocked off to the side because that sound made that happen. This one is the one that we did called Glee, where the audio was used to spawn in enemies. So we were trying to like sort of detect low, medium, and high frequencies, and then there would be large, medium, and small little dudes that would pop into this thing, and you had to move around and sort of like grab them and collect them up and take them into a safe place.
Safe zone, yeah. think the only one you didn't mention maybe, or one of the important ones was the one where the audio generated Asteroids, and it was a 4-person racing game where the entire asteroid field that you fly around.
That one was amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think that one was in the video. But
it was at
one
the
of
beginning.
The best ones.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun one for sure.
So, and then just to show you a more...
Pretty sure these are all archived on our website somewhere?
They are. The Gamma 01 games are on the website.
So you might be able to find them and play them.
Buried deep within our not entirely...
Poorly archived.
Yes.
What's the URL?
website.
You just kokoromi.org, right? And then somewhere on there you should find a link that will take you to the Gamma 1 roundup of what games
under the projects link, I believe.
And there should be. You should be able to get to the games from there. Yeah. I could be totally wrong about that.
No, I hope not.
They may have molded and rotted away by now.
No. So the next year we did this one, Gamma 256, and I think this is the one that most people are first familiar with as far as the Gamma events. I guess the most notable thing is that Jason Rohr's Passage was created as a Gamma game for Gamma 256. And there were quite a lot of other... The challenge here was to make games that were as small as possible or as strangely weird aspect ratio as possible. And in no direction could it be more than 256 pixels. So the smallest one was actually 8 by 8. And Jason's is 256 wide, but I think only 16 tall or something like that.
One of my favorites from this one, I think, was...
Standard Bits?
No, the one with the heart.
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of it?
No. It'll come to me later.
I think it was a heart.
I keep wanting to say "Where is my heart," but it's not "Where is my heart."
It
so it's like that one's now stuck in the heart game space in my
Where
brain.
is my heart? Here on playable on the laptops on the floor.
But a different game entirely.
Different game entirely.
Yeah. But it had a cool mechanic where you could
rotate
the world, and it was sort of like a puzzle thing of like finding your way by rotating. Yes.
Mr. Hart loves you very much. Thank
you.
you.
Yes, that game is really good.
Yeah.
Short but awesome.
Yeah. So then next we did Gamma 3D. And the challenge here was you had to use red, blue, or red cyan 3D in the gameplay. Some familiar faces in the crowd.
That clock was just broken like that. This is not a sped up video. That was what was that one called? Paper Moon by Alacalaqua. Also known as Infinite Ammo.
I think Paper Moon is actually playable here on the Texatron if the Texatron is running.
Sweet. Yeah, they did.
Nope, it's not. Sorry, or it's just not running.
So the challenge here was that we often would make our themes around issues that were coming up in the games industry. Like for the Gamma 256, it was like everything was supposed to be all high definition. Television was coming out, and all the games had to be really high res. And we were like, well, what can we do with just the minimum possible number of pixels? Can you still have interesting gameplay with that? And then for Gamma 3D, it was when all the 3D televisions were starting to come out and getting hyped like crazy. And we thought, well, okay, sure, the games might look a little bit more immersive or something, but does it really matter? And so we wanted to sort of explore that question. And so we made the challenge to make a game that uses 3 dimensions or 3-dimensional vision, but use the lowest possible, the oldest kind of style technology to do that, which is way more accessible. You can, you know, buy these glasses almost anywhere, and you can.
People look awesome in them.
Yes, and we also wanted to have a room full of people wearing red cyan glasses, and yeah, it worked.
But it was also there was also directive to say use the 3D, but try to use it in the gameplay in a way that's meaningful, such that ideally the game is unplayable if you're not wearing the glasses.
Right.
I think that the only person that really accomplished that feat was I'm doing terrible with names and things now. Jim
McGinley.
Jim McGinley, who did the Depths to It, I think.
Yep.
And that's actually a game he's been refining ever since then. But that one in particular had a really deep 3D field, and because of the nature of it, like you literally just could not play it without the 3D glasses.
Yeah, I think what we learned is it's really hard to make a game that actually relies on stereoscopic vision in order to be playable. Most of them, you could kind of tell what was going on. This one was maybe the second best. It's Fireflies by Joni Wu, and Lee Byron. But most of the time, we have other ways of perceiving three-dimensional space, like parallax and things like that. And so the games used the three-dimensionality, but they didn't really rely on it. It wasn't impossible to play without it. I think I actually, after this, might have a video, another video that's about the game that Kokoromi did. And Kokoromi doesn't always make a game for every gamma. We made one for the first one. We made one for the third one. But I think generally we make a game for the gammas that seem to have quite a large technical hurdle, just because we want to make sure it's even feasible to do these things, and also because we have interesting ideas that we want to explore. So we've only made those two for gamma. So the next is about... So we joined up with Renaud Bedard of Polytron, who works with Phil on Fez, and made the game Super Hypercube, which some of you may have played. It's been around at some festivals. It was at Indiecade last year, and now it actually uses Kinect. But at the time, we were using the Wiimote hack, the Johnny Lee Wiimote hack, where you point the Wiimote at the player, and they have to have the LED lights on their person. Yeah. In our case, it's directly on the glasses. So that's how we hacked together this system. So I'll just show you the game. The video gets better.
Just like life.
Explain a little bit more about how they're actually playing it with the glasses hack.
Yeah, so the importance of the glasses, of having that, is that, well, not just the three-dimensional vision, but also the Wiimote, is that because it's head tracking, it can actually move with you, and you can control the motion of the camera in the game by moving your body. So you're controlling the rotation of a cube as it goes through a wall in the distance, but the way you can see the hole in the wall, as you progress, the cube cluster gets bigger and bigger, and so it starts to obstruct your view of the wall itself, and then the only way you can see it is to lean around and use your whole body. And so it's really interesting to have this effect of the three-dimensional vision and also have the game responding to the position of your body. It gets you a very immersive feeling. And these videos also give you a sense of the parties and how they kind of go. So the most recent Gamma, which isn't that recent anymore, was Gamma 4 one-button games, which was the first year we held the event outside of Montreal. We decided that we wanted to have the event at GDC, and so we had it as like one of the after parties of the indie game summit, and decided to focus on. There was a lot of stuff coming out with Kinect and all these different controllers that could do everything with just waving your hands, and we decided to go back to basics and make games that just use one button as the input. So you have like press and hold, and release, and that's really all you could do to control the games. And the challenge with this one for us was that it was a really accessible challenge, and because of the presence at GDC, it was a really, a lot of people wanted to participate. We had over almost 150 entries, whereas in previous years we'd had maybe somewhere, in the realm of 12 or 30 or something like that.
And was this still just the four of you going through?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yes. So yes. So the way it works is when people submit games, we play them all and argue a long time about which ones to include. Because we're not only looking for quality, we look for variety. So looking for different ways that people had solved the challenges that we had proposed, and so we needed to have a good variety of solutions in addition to good quality. So, and there is just the four of us. We don't bring anybody else into our curatorial process, and so it was except to help us play test or something like that. Because by this point we weren't even living in the same city, and we needed to play a lot of 4-player games, and so yeah, we had people helping us, but in the decision-making process, it's just the four of us fighting.
Although generally speaking, and I want to get an incendiary comment in here.
What?
Generally speaking, judging games is a lot like listening to music, in that you can kind of tell within the first couple minutes whether it's actually going to be good or not.
But you're not supposed to say that out loud.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, if it didn't run, it was
up.
pretty instantly not.
So it was still a lot of work, but it's that aspect of it, I think, makes it manageable.
So yeah, then we had all this excitement at GDC, but it was the scale of it that year was kind of a little. It was really on the top end of what we as a 4-person group were interested in doing, because we're much more about having, I don't know, something on a more.
Other interesting detail about that event, which again, think about it being 2 years ago. We did a Kickstarter to raise some money for it, and we asked for, I think, $6,000
US,
and raised just a little bit over that, and we thought that was
that was the early days.
It was the early days.
Incredible.
In fact, we raised over 10,000, I think. So that was
Was that true?
Yeah.
So maybe it's time for you guys to do another Kickstarter.
I'd say, that's what I'm saying.
Stakes are higher now. I don't know.
I mean, you just PayPal me money if you want. Just cut out the middleman.
Yeah. But we also had some really good rewards. I think that helped a lot, because a lot of our indie gamer friends were very generous and offered copies of their games and things like that for us to give away to people. So it was successful for a lot of reasons. But yeah, 2 years went by, and this slide is kind of like a collage of the various things that were happening in the 2 years since Gamma 4 and now. I designed and released an iPhone app that controls a vibrator. And Phil made Fez. And Damien did a lot of music and game projects. And the picture in the middle is the representation of Damien making music.
Although I also worked on the vibrator app, which is,
yes, that's true.
It works by generating audio, so that following that same thread.
Yep. And the picture on the bottom right is a project that Cindy's working on for using Kinect games in storefront windows as a game controller. And then the one on the upper right is an exhibition on games that was just this summer in Paris that Cindy and I were on the curatorial team of. And in fact, Damien made a piece for that as well. So we've had a lot of cross-collaboration on non-Kokoromi projects and hadn't been doing anything as the collective so much. And there were also things like Cindy getting a PhD, I moved to Europe, a lot of life things. So this slide represents all of that.
I've been in Austin eating tacos.
Yeah. So now, tonight, the Dance Singularity. We're not going to tell you much, actually. We're going to give you some maybe teaser information, but we wouldn't want to totally give it away. But the idea for the Dance Singularity is that we need you to help make the Dance Singularity. There he is. Dramatic.
Hi, a cab never showed up.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just at the end.
What did I miss?
You missed
Everything.
everything.
Okay, great.
Except the Dance Singularity. You did not miss the Dance
I missed
Singularity.
the burger, apparently.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit
We
left.
had a
You can
section
have a
about your
fry.
sexual fetishes, but it was short.
Which ones?
It was short.
Oh.
The fetish was.
So, Dance Singularity, the basic idea is that we need you to participate with us to bring about the Dance Singularity, and that's what we're going to do tonight. And just here in front of the stage will be a dance floor comprised of 9 DDR mats that have been hacked to allow it for them to lie flat and be all in the center like that. And we all have to give like huge credit and probably applause to Damien, because he did all the heavy lifting for this project. Did the hardware, he did the software. Yeah.
If you
I
ever
made a poster.
yeah, Phil made a poster.
Also, that thing's been taking up your whole living room all this
That's
time,
right. That's my apartment. That is my entire living room in my apartment. Most of it has been dance floor for the last month. All I can say about it is, if you ever find yourself about to embark on some sort of project, and it's going to involve a lot of wiring, don't do it.
And don't call Damien and ask him to do it either.
Unless you really like hunching over a desk with wire strippers and tape and
Some
Lord
people
knows
like
what
that.
else.
Some people genuinely like that.
Some people like it. My trapezius muscles do not.
Yeah. So that's the part. And also I can just say now to prepare everybody, you can't wear shoes on this because it will destroy it. So it's going to be like a sock hop. Everyone has to take off their shoes and put them beside the dance floor. And only if you want to dance, you have to be barefooted or sock-footed.
You can take off any number of articles of clothing.
You
if
could,
so
yeah.
choose.
That's also, yeah. And then a brief look at the other half of it, which is the Dance Master controls, which here's just an overview of like all the things that actually, and I'm not even going to tell you like what all these are going to do. You can guess. But the beauty, it will be in the combination of making all these things happen. And the idea is that the dance pad controls parts of the visuals, so you'll be able to see your effect you're having while you're dancing. But then we control some other parts of the experience. So we're working together to bring about this Dance Singularity. And then just a few kind of preview screenshots of parts of it so you can see the kind of crazy variety that we get out of it. Each one of those squares represents one of the pads of one of the dance mats. And this is the same thing, but just with like different filters and different math. And that one too. So we'll just be orchestrating this experience live, and we need your help to bring it,
And
to make it happen.
Damien and Phil, you guys are going to be DJing, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Right on.
Been working on a set for weeks now. It is very tight. It's a tight set.
And that's it.
Tight.
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 Also fast and
All right.
bulbous.
You guys want to take some questions from the floor? Does anybody
Why not?
anybody want to ask some questions of Kokoromi or about any of their past work or about the party tonight without destroying the veil of mystery that they have created for it?
When's the next Gamma?
Never? I think
Never.
that's over.
Really?
Possibly never.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's-
Well,
that's too
let's
bad.
say never until further notice.
Never say never, but never probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been so long, and I feel like other people picked up that torch and ran with it. Like there's a lot of that kind of stuff that's happening now. I don't feel like we have to do it now. Like we can just let other people do it and enjoy it ourselves.
Would you guys, even if you're not curating an event like that, what about Kokoromi doing more Kokoromi like a single, you've got a concept and you guys just make something together? Can we expect more of that? I mean, clearly we're getting it tonight, but is that going to be an ongoing thing in the
I
future?
think so. Like, we didn't do anything for years, and last time we were all together, well, Cindy's not here now, but we were all here for South by Southwest, and it was like the first time in like 2 years the four of us were there. And we had this dinner, we were like, should we break up? Like, we don't do anything anymore. Like, what's the point? And it's like, well, fuck it. We should not do a gamma. Just make a weird little thing for ourselves. Because, you know, half the time with the gammas, we didn't make a game for it. We ended up just doing organization work. It's like, let's just make a thing and throw a party around. That'll be much simpler, and then we can, you know, just say we made something.
So, hi. I'm thinking about what you had said about, obviously you'd made a commitment when you were doing gammas to not involve any, you know, established commercial game developers or publishers. Obviously when you were doing it, you probably weren't thinking about the kind of work that could come out of it. Obviously it was made for a creative consideration, but looking back and considering, you know, who was on the panel just before you, was a bunch of guys from Sony who are talking about new ways to reach out to independent game developers and make more weird and crazy things. Would it make sense now, or have you reflected at all about that decision to not involve commercial game developers and what that would have affected the quality of your contributions? Does that
My
make
feelings
sense?
about it haven't changed. I mean, if I was to do something again, I don't think I would seek to.
I think we just lost audio on one of our mics.
Her cord came
okay.
out. The microphone was rebelling against her statement.
Clearly an establishment microphone.
Yeah.
Like, the moment you accept any kind of sponsorship, it essentially becomes advertising, and that was kind of, you know, the whole indie thing back then was kind of just getting started, and we were really hardcore about it. And one of the big reasons we decided to go with that rule was that, you know, for the first 3 years it was based in Montreal, and Montreal has such a strong AAA presence. We have all the gigantic studios. You know, Ubisoft Montreal is getting close to like 3,000 employees now. It's a monster. And we thought that it would be really easy to get those guys excited about that, and then it would become like Ubisoft presents a bunch of cool indie games, and like we really didn't want to do that because we wanted to basically be a counterpoint to the corporate culture that we have in Montreal. Because for years there was really nothing interesting indie-wise happening. Like now it's starting to get really vibrant. You know, we have Fract. We have Waiting for Horus, the game that Renaud is working on with Les Collégiennes. There's tons of really cool, Castle Story. You know, it's really starting to get alive. But back when 2006, it was nothing at all. Everybody that made games worked for the main players, and we felt it was important to just completely distance ourselves from that. And still to this day, I feel like, yeah.
I feel distant.
Don't talk with your mouth full.
And any more? We're just going to spend the rest of the panel watching Damien finish his lunch.
Describe it. Describe your lunch for us.
Any more questions from the floor? You have another one? No? Should we wrap it up? All right.
Wow.
Thank you so much to Kokoromi. We're so glad that Phil managed to get here before it was over. And all of you should go without saying, be here tonight at 9 p.m. for the Dance Singularity, when all will be revealed.
Because it might never happen again. We're going to totally break up right after it, and it's the last Kokoromi thing ever. Be there.
See, we knew he
Maybe.
would say something.